The landscape within Horizon Zero Dawn is a beautiful thing to behold. Even the robots, their physical appearances copying that of various animals that are no longer on Earth, adds a pleasing visual touch. To bring the reality of the post-apocalyptic world, anthropologists were consulted to authenticate the world's decay over a millennium, making everything that is seen to be accurately correct. An interesting concept, research has been dedicated to the curious prediction of what the world would look like without humans in it for many, many years. What is even more interesting is that in this post-apocalyptic world, is the concept that humans are no longer the head of the food chain. It's not necessarily that something else has taken its place, but rather, humans are no longer the most important thing anymore. Remember, the world has survived without human self-destruction, selfishness for hundreds of years. But the introduction of AI just escalated destruction in a matter of months. And what's even more interesting, it took other AI to actually save Earth from itself. The game has shifted from what we know as an outcome from world disaster and turned it into something else, something more. It seems, even if in just this episode, we need to look back to look forward. This is Two Takes, and this is One Shot, an analysis of the game, Horizon Zero Dawn. Although the main storyline is not the subject matter, there is the potential for spoilers ahead. The history behind Horizon Zero Dawn seems to begin with the mid-21st century and the technology corporation Faro Automated Solutions. From the creation of combat automatons that were designed around the concept of a swarm, the chariot line of combat automatons were of artificial intelligence. So much so, they could self-replicate themselves, were virtually immune from hacking, have the ability to instantly enslave enemy automatons, and to consume organic matter, living or dead, as fuel when they ran out. Now think about that. As a military contract, seems like the best deal ever, right? Now think about it in reality. Anything with that sort of intelligence was deemed to cause chaos. And so it did. There was a glitch that made it become an independent entity, but with no way of hacking it, and with a self-replicating programming, within 15 months, it used so much organic matter as fuel, it made the Earth sterile and derelict. To slow the swarm down, Operation Enduring Victory had thousands of people fight back the swarm whilst a real plan named Horizon Zero Dawn could succeed in creating an AI global terraforming system that would also brute force the swarm deactivation codes, shut them down, and restore life to the planet. But before we dive into the AI that saved the planet, let's explore the ones that killed it. Earlier on, they were described as a chariot line of military combat automatons, with the intention of using biomass conversion, using organic matter and transforming it into fuel, as an intended emergency alternative fuel source, which we know because their automatic response to low fuel. They used a cloud of nanites, called a nanohaze, that stripped organic matter and passed it back to the robots. In our reality, nanites nanorobotics is still an emerging technology of creating robots whose components are at or near the scale of a nanometer and constructed of nanoscale or molecular components, intended for work obviously too small for humans or the tools. And much like Death Stranding, there were moments like this where things from our reality are emerging into the gameplay. Take the word chariot to begin with. First used as a weapon in Egypt around 16,000 BC, they became known as an elite force in the ancient Egyptian military, and were usually delivering the first strike. In the game, the machines were designed to be deployed as swarms which was each overseen by a master unit, similar to certain insects, and much like the first line of attack, by the chariots in Egypt. The master unit, Horus, and its swarm, machines called scarabs and Copes, or better known as the Metal Devil and its corruptors and deathbringers by Aloy and the tribes of the post-apocalyptic world. FAS/BOR7 Horus, Metal Devil, are the ones that can be seen on the map, on the edges of the mountains to the northwest. It is the colossal machine resembling a giant lobster or sea scorpion or any similar aquatic arthropod. Its drill-like tentacles and its size made them capable of penetrating the fortifications and bunkers whilst climbing over mountains, and they were considered the queens of the swarm. This might be because they were the main replicators of new members of the swarm, scarabs and kopeshes. And while fully capable of refueling using biomass conversion, the standard was to make its swarm do it for them. In a way, because of its behaviour and size, Horus was the perfect name for this machine. Because Horus, in our reality, is the falcon-headed god in ancient Egypt, with his name meaning he who is above and he who is distant. His domain was many, but he was primarily recognized as the god of the sky and the god of war. The symbol, the Eye of Horus, befits protection and raw power. In the Egyptian language, the word of the symbol was virgin. In itself, Virgin was a solar deity, and the symbol began as her all-seeing eye. However, I feel the Eye of Ra is more fitting for this metal devil, as that represents the destruction of the god of Ra, to which Horus is deity to. The destruction of the power of the sun in all its blazing glory. But to break it down, the sun god for ancient Egypt had many names, with Khepri, the morning form, Ra-Harati, form with a Ra associated with Horus, and Utum, the old evening form. And much like the sun god, the chariot lion had three forms or functions too. One such form is the FAS/ACA3 Scarab, or Corruptor, the fastest of the chariot robots, capable of quickly scuttling over all types of terrain, taking over the other robots to do its bidding, armed with self-repair or repair components for other units, was also an offensive attacker, with a vague resemblance to a large black scorpion. The Egyptian god Khepri, Ra as the rising sun, was often depicted as a scarab beetle, and the ancient Egyptians believed that Khepri renewed the sun every day by rolling above the horizon and beyond, much like the dung beetle the scarab is family to. Ra, part of Horus, covers the sun in the sky, and Khepri represents the sun's rising, and an extension could also represent the creation and renewal of life, which, in this instance, is not a good thing, as this type of machine could replicate itself, creating a swarm. Another form is the FAS/FSP5 Kopesh, or the Deathbringer, the heavy firepower of the chariot swarm, and one of the various machines that don't resemble any fauna. It is a very powerful mobile weapons platform, with all 6 stout legs connected to a circular swivel that allows the head to turn 360 degrees. The name it is given, Kopesh, in our reality, is actually an Egyptian sickle-shaped sword that evolved from battle axes. The inside cover of the weapon could be used to trap an opponent's arm or to pull an opponent's shield out of the way. And considering the machine doesn't resemble anything living from the world, the choice to call it after a weapon is not a coincidence. Unlike a weapon that could end someone's life, this could be presented as one of the 3 forms: the ending, the evening, the night of death, much like the name the tribes of Horizon Zero Dawn have given it. So, we have an all-seeing Egyptian sun god in all 3 forms, in their chariot, with their swords, Kopesh, and scuttling all-terrain battle beetles, Scarab, that can multiply, repair, and kill on sight, all the while sucking up the biomatter of the earth as fuel. Ugh, what an image. But there is more. As well as Egyptian gods and representations, Horizon Zero Dawn has included Greek mythology as well. The use of Greek and Egyptian mythology, especially in the realm of gods and goddesses, could be because of their influence in our everyday lives. True, we might not believe in them in the physical sense, but the concept of how they make us behave or manifest certain things still makes it relevant. We believe in what they can do for us, and every one of them has a different role to play. They might be mythological folklore, ancient even, but that even now, within gaming in its day and age, they still hold true to personify something such as war or the harvest, to be a physical embodiment, to be human-like, and to have a name to look up to. We do the same, Even in our reality, when we wish for something so much, we sometimes end up praying for it, placing our wants and fears onto another deity or godlike presence that we have faith in, and hope that they answer to our needs. This choice of the names given to some of the machines, and especially the AI and its subfunctions, can be a physical embodiment of what they can do. Their chosen names encourage what they represent, perhaps making it easier for the audience to understand their functions within the gameplay. For me, I just like the research and dedication to include something so ancient in mythology in our reality to also be placed in something ancient in the world of Horizon Zero Dawn. It can almost connect this fictitious new world and the futures to the one we have now, and perhaps some small lessons can be learned here. But that might be for another episode. In any case, each machine and each AI and its subfunctions have a purpose within the terraforming of the Earth after the Pharaoh Plague outburst. The history can be pieced together within the gameplay, to which I shall not delve into too deeply. And so, from exploring the machines that ended the world, we now explore the machines that helped us regain it again. I present Gaia and her many subfunctions. Gaia, in our reality, is a Greek pre-immortal deity who is the personification of Earth and the ancestral mother of all. She is the ancestor of all Greek deities, and in the reality of Horizon Zero Dawn, she could be presented as a grandmother of all the named subfunctions contained within her AI. Purely seen as a management AI, Gaia advanced further and developed emotional capacity, empathy, and a benevolent and nurturing personality. These qualities gave Gaia a genuine sadness over life's extinction and a real sense of guardianship over the new life that Horizon Zero Dawn could establish. Gaia's subfunctions also had important roles to play, and they all represent a Greek god or goddess. Minerva was the code-breaking subordinate function. It was successful in brute-forcing the Pharaoh Plague's deactivation codes and broadcasting them all over the world, essentially shutting them all down. It's a strategic move in defensive warfare, which its Greek and Roman goddess counterpart is known for. Artemis, known as the goddess of the hunt, restored the fauna. Demeter, also known as the Greek goddess of the harvest, agriculture, and overall fertility of the earth, restored the fauna, and Alenthea, Greek goddess of childbirth and midwifery, restored the human race through artificial means of facilities called cradles that would store and eventually raise cryogenic specimens. Aether, Greek deities and the personification of pure upper air that the gods can breathe, detoxified Earth's atmosphere, whilst Poseidon, Greek god of the sea, detoxified the Earth's bodies of water. Both were done by the machines made by Hephaestus, Greek god of the blacksmiths, metalworkers, craftsmen, etc., who, when freed like the rest of the subfunctions from Gaia's control, deemed humans a threat, and so made the machines less docile and prone to sometimes attack humans on sight. And then there's Hades, seen as the fail-safe function protocol to reverse the terraforming process should it produce conditions unstable for life. Is like, in our reality, its Greek god of the dead counterpart, programmed or created for death. In the gameplay, Hades did more than just wait around. It used a virus to set itself and other subfunctions apart from Gaia, becoming its own entity, and then manipulated those around it, mostly the Kaja, to do its bidding by exchanging forgotten information of the old ones, essentially using what the dead knew and giving it to living for a price. This information was meant for the new humans to educate themselves about the past. However, due to the sabotage of Ted Pharaoh, what the Pharaoh Plague was named after, Apollo, Greek and Roman god of truth, prophecy, as well as other things, had its archiving function fail, and so the humans that we see in the game had no prior knowledge of the pre-extinction flora and fauna, and even anything about themselves and why the world in Horizon Zero Dawn is as it is. It seems, once again, the mistakes of the past have made the future completely different. There seems to be layers that can peel back a certain warning about the dangers of AI and the need for excellence and power, whilst projecting the truth through exploration, human interaction, and in this case, the need for life to get back to normal, all on a larger global scale. It seems games like these, certain post-apocalyptic RPG games, have tiny reflections of many different realities that connect it to ours. They are not predictions of what would happen under certain timescales, but rather concentrate on the decisions that ripple and collide with each other to make a different whole. This conjunction of consumer productions and Decima within Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding still holds strong when it comes to exploring certain issues, whilst enjoying a storyline and gaming graphics from the history that begins with us, in this timeline, in our now. And we begin there, and this is one of the many beautiful creations we have made with the question that burns the brightest: what if? The concept of life, and the replication of it, has machines being the faulty party, but also the survivor and then the saviour. Although within the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, we were at fault to create machines to end wars, their advancement is like blood on our hands. And then it was beyond our control. But it was the intention behind the creation of such intelligence that led to the downfall of man, and then the eventual reliance of other AI to rectify what we have done wrong. With the right intention, the right intelligence, to gain a perspective of some sort of coded feeling and sympathy over our human mistakes and self-destruction, led to protective instincts, and overall patience for the planet to gain some resemblance of normalcy. Within a world without us, with machines as a norm, and for Aloy and the Triads to become the ones that need to adapt in a world led by machine and nature, almost in harmony, it seems we have found a game that has gone beyond us, the humans, and just continued existing. We are just merely passing through, adapting to something that is maintaining the balance. We are not the head of the food chain anymore, and it feels refreshing in a way. Wouldn't you agree? If you have enjoyed what was said, please follow me on Anchor, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms to never miss an episode. Be kept in the loop for new content on my Instagram and Twitter page. For more of a visual appeal, I've introduced a YouTube channel. And if you enjoy to read what was said, instead, follow my blog, linked elsewhere. I'm a podcaster that enjoys this process, and it wouldn't have been made a reality without you, the listener. And so, I thank you for listening, and I hope you stick around for more.